Everybody. Now, David, you started to mention before the break about your FBI insider. I need you to follow up on that. What's going on?
Well, okay. There's different insiders. The FBI insider that I'm referring to is not my insider. He's a completely separate individual, and I think, if I may, that the contribution I was able to make was to trace this person all the way back to June 2016 and show a consistency of it being the same person. And in fact, I would say it's a forensic analysis of the language and the style of writing and the punctuation errors and some of the turns of phrase and the way that things are misspelled and what types of misspellings occur, the colloquial language that's used. It's obviously the same person. Now, the official word is that this person, Meganon, only showed up in May of 2017. But yet somebody else who's obviously the same person had granted interviews to this website, Victorus Libertas, back in February 2017, a few months before this insider allegedly started. And then it was 4chan that called him Meganon in the first place. Now, another thing is that the person is saying that he's a female. And I think he did that as a security measure. I do believe the actual person is male, not female. And part of why I say that is that women probably wouldn't use a lot of the masculine colloquial language that's peppered throughout these disclosures. There's certain ways that women would tend to speak. And even if a woman was like a tomboy and worked for the FBI, I really don't think that this language is consistent with a woman at all. So my personal feeling is it's a guy who is trying to do some counterintelligence, like saying he only started in May, like saying he's a woman when he's really not. And that's normal. I don't think it's fooling the cabal, but I don't feel like I'm compromising his safety by saying what my opinion is. Now, the funny part is that this guy is actually fairly antagonistic towards people like me. And when I say people like me, I mean there are certain references in his, there's voluminous amounts of information this guy's put out that you can read in the links that I gave on divinecosmos.com, the last 2 or 3 articles. There's multiple times that he takes shots at people who have any type of income that they're deriving from journalism, whether it's Alex Jones who's selling supplements, or whether it's somebody like me who's selling subscriptions because I'm on Gaia, I have 2 weekly shows. He doesn't like that. And so I think he feels like he's risking his life and that there's people that are doing this for profit. But that's why I'm telling people about things like Pete Peterson having all of his stuff stolen, or Paul having all of his stuff stolen, and then getting in a head-on collision. So the really amazing part, Jimmy, is that this guy is totally independent, unique, separate from any of the other insiders that we've been hearing from. But what he's saying is that he is part of a team of people that appears to be in the FBI, where there's factions now. There's like a good FBI and a bad FBI. And by good and bad, I would mean defining that as saying that good means that it's good for the people. Bad would mean that they're working for the cabal and their desires are to create some kind of a New World Order dictatorship. So the good FBI is a whole team of people that have been working pretty much ever since the election. Actually, before that, because the really amazing thing was that this guy predicted the Podesta papers, all of those email leaks that showed up in October, right during the final stretch of the election, all the stuff that led to Pizzagate, all that stuff. He nailed it. He had it in so much specific detail before it happened, and it's only after that WikiLeaks occurred that people then go back and read that again and say, my God, how did this guy know this in advance? And so that gave him enormous credibility. And similarly with the Q Insider, the enormous credibility is the telegraphing of a very major event that was going to utterly change the world and would be a major defeat for the cabal. And he targeted the dates of November 3rd and 4th. And it was that exact day, November 4th, that mass arrests came completely out of nowhere in Saudi Arabia. And, I have good intel, but there is no way that an operation as sensitive as mass arrest in Saudi Arabia down to the day, there's no way that the alliance would entrust me with information that sensitive. But whoever this guy was, he had it. He had the intel, and he telegraphed it. And it takes a lot of analysis, and that's why, people complain how long the article is, but there's no way that it could have been that specific and be that precisely correct down to the day if this was fake. It's impossible. I'm sorry.
Now,
It's just impossible.
I don't like predictions for the obvious reasons, but I suspect that over the next 12 months, that we're going to see some world-changing things go down. I mean, some powerful things. Why? Everything's coming to a head. They need to resolve themselves. But if you were going to whip out your crystal ball right now, what do you think is going to happen over the next 12 months?
Well, you got to look behind the scenes, and you got to look at some other things, okay? And one of them is NASA just tweeted, I believe it was today or yesterday, that they have found a cigar-shaped asteroid that is the first object from outside our solar system that they found in the solar system. And their suggested illustration of it, it does not look like an asteroid. It looks like a lumpy cigar-shaped craft.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming right from NASA, okay? Two more things that have just happened very recently, and anybody can go dig this up and send you the links. I'd rather focus on talking. If I tried to find these links and send me at the same time, I would get distracted. But two things have just happened. Number one, we heard about a secret chamber that was found in the Great Pyramid. Have you covered this story?
Oh, absolutely. Cover both of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Secret chamber of the Great Pyramid, and then literally a week later, this is just a couple days ago, secret chamber under the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan.
Yep.
And they're showing you the shaft, and they're saying there's this big room and we don't know what it is. So here's part of the prediction. And this is not just me speculating, this is actually from one of the briefings that we got. And by the way, I was at Gaia recently for another taping, and Corey Good has been getting so many briefings. He had 26 hours of briefings in just a short burst of time, and then I believe it was like 9 hours from another source, 9 or 10 hours. I mean, he looked really exhausted because the situation has gotten so heavy that he's getting the calls in the middle of the night. There's literally briefings coming in the middle of the night, waking him up with phone calls. And you could see it. I mean, he was exhausted. I said, man, try to get some sleep, and it's not easy. So what we're hearing about these secret chambers is that there are actually artifacts inside them. Whether that's the original or whether they have been planted, we don't really know. But it appears that may, and here's the thing. We never really know. Like, if I talk about this, it might throw it off. Okay, that's the problem. But one of the possibilities of what's going to go down is that they're going to go into those chambers and they're going to find weird stuff that clearly is advanced technology beyond anything we have now. And so they're trying to find, and this is now the Cabal and the Alliance, right? They're trying to find a way to sort of break us into disclosure with some sort of really big, really amazing event. So NASA talks about this cigar-shaped asteroid, right? Maybe now they're going to get a telescope on it, and they're going to zoom in on it, and they're going to say, wait a minute, that's not an asteroid. We assumed it was, because what else would it be? But look at that, it's smooth, and it's got a fuselage. Holy crap, that's not an asteroid, that's a ship.
Right.
So they could do that. That's one option. Option number two, we found this new technology, we've done these readings inside the pyramid, and now we've seen that there's objects inside the room, and oh wow, we found a way to get into the room. There was a secret passageway there, and now we're going to smash through the wall, and we're going to go up there, and oh my god, look at all these things. It's holographic displays, and here's this thing that levitates stone, and here's this other thing, and, so they could do that. They could do the same thing with the pyramid Teotihuacan. We've heard that they might take the card of digging something up in the ocean, that they're going to talk about a base that they found in the ocean. Of course, we've talked extensively ad nauseum about the ancient ruins in Antarctica,
Right.
that they're going to come out with that. So you have to understand how this works. They always have multiple cards they can pull. They always have, to use another analogy, they always have multiple moves on the chessboard.
Right.
So if I talk about the chambers in these pyramids, that might ruin it. If I talk about Antarctica, that might ruin it. If I talk about undersea bases, that might ruin it. If I talk about a cigar-shaped object that's actually a fuselage and not an asteroid, it's the first extraterrestrial object they're saying they found in our solar system, that might ruin it. But then they've got other ones, right? They've got the things like Tabby Star, where there's chunks of architecture orbiting a star that are clearly not planets, but appear to be artificially built. So they've got a few of those.
We later stopped to take photos of Black Dragon Canyon in Utah. And on the way back to my car, a single crow was perched on the Do Not Enter sign. But with a piece of the puzzle still missing, I hung on to the hope of coincidence. I also returned to Iowa in November to work on the film once again, where Justin and I stayed at the Davenport Bag and Paper Company, a building reportedly so haunted that past employees have quit their jobs because they fear entering the building during the day. On 2 separate nights, I experienced activity that kept me awake for days on end. Not because the activity was intense, but because it was incredibly responsive to only my commands.
You have to hit something hard. Speak to us again. See if that's you. We still can't distinguish between that. I know that was louder. It's gonna have to even be louder. Holy shit. That was louder. That was louder. Wait, did you hear that? That was louder. Yeah. Okay. And it's absolutely louder. Recorder. Move something in this room. Holy shit. Whoa. Whoa, what was that? Holy Jesus. If you had just made that little knock, I'd do it a lot louder. Hell of a lot louder. Oh, shit. Whoa. Whoa.
The first time I witnessed the crows was while I was filming a promo for the haunted Hollywood event in Venice Beach, California. A single crow appeared to my left on the top of the security fence. Several weeks later, upon a visit to Iowa State University, the crows appeared again, this time nearly blotting out the sky. Shortly after, I returned home and attempted to tell all of you about my travels, and another took notice of my efforts. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm over the flu, which is awesome. Yeah, I wanted to check it really quick. Oh my god. Oh my god. There's a black crow right there. Look at this. You see it right there?
Oh, the crows are here for me. It's like they're hunting down. About hunting down there. They need to wait. Hey, dude, you're hindering me. What up, Redwood? Redwood.
getting to with Mary Lou. That's not exactly, I don't know a better word for it, but because he took care of the people who he was friends with, who he was with. And, you know, if you think he's such an evil genius, how Publix, I mean, it's something he just does every week.
You use the phrase evil genius. Do you think that's...
But he's a highly intelligent one. I mean, there's absolutely no, and this is the other part that I want to stress with this, that it doesn't matter that they won't chase people, but people are saying, oh, he must have had help. Steve had no help. Steve didn't take help. It did not take a village for Steve. Steve was an arm. I'm sorry. Please don't. I'm using a colloquial, I was about to use a colloquial. Steve was a standalone guy.
More than 100 investigators have spent the last 72 hours combing through the life of 64-year-old Stephen Paddock to produce a profile of someone I will call disturbed and dangerous. What we know is Stephen Paddock is a man who spent decades acquiring weapons and ammo and living a secret life, much of which will never be fully understood. He meticulously planned on the worst domestic attack in United States history. As many of you already reported, Paddock rented a room at the Ogden Hotel in downtown Las Vegas. This has been confirmed. Okay? Reasons that ran through Paddock's mind is unknown, but it was directly during the same time This Life is Beautiful video evidence. And I don't want to, you know what, I'm using the wrong term. Evidence is not the term. We have recovered video from there to review Mr. Paddock's actions while he was there. Now, it's important for you to understand, this was not, the rooms were not rented by the Ogden. It was done through Airbnb by a private owner unknown to the Ogden. So we have very great cooperation from the owners of Life is Beautiful.
He was a good guy. I know this is, you know, nobody wants to hear this, but damn, you know, if you knew Steve, once again, people 20 years ago who have no reason to say anything nice about him or anything, or say nice things about him, people who don't even know him hardly. It's, how in the hell did this happen?
Karen, what do you know? What facts do you know about the last week or month of Stephen's life? What, do you know anything, or is it just blank?
I don't know anything. The lady who pulled in, I helped her husband pull a tree off his house and stand up his... I'm the kind of guy who goes around and helps. I'm just that, I'm just that kind of guy. I'm extremely lucky in life. A billion hours and was not home with my family and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not guilty for being successful.
No,
but for all the rest of the people, once again, please.
I'm just going to know what you say to the families of the victims who are to understand, to get insight.
Think about Steve. Here's my statement. If we have to have a funeral for Steve, here's how pragmatic. This is how pragmatic I am. If having a funeral for Steve and letting all these people come and spit on his grave will make them feel better in any way, shape, or form. I'm using the far end here. Come on, guys, give me a little stretch here. If having a funeral for Steve would help anybody, I will do whatever is possible. My heart is torn, is destroyed for all these people. But I can't tell you why Steve did what he did. It's so far over the side of the cliff from Steve that I knew. Did he grouse about people? Yes. If you went into, you guys, come on. If you go in, do any of you guys ever gamble at all? When you gamble and you win, you're all happy. It doesn't matter if you're up $500. When you lose, you're not happy. So, you're unhappy that you lost because you think you lost. But Steve didn't gamble that way. Steve gambled as a job.
Eric, what's the status of the FBI and your...
At first glance, the C. Mogdom's YouTube videos don't seem all that sinister. Her sometimes bizarre antics racking up millions of views. dressing in costumes, exercising,
Yeah, vegan.
promoting veganism, dancing next to photos of fruit and farm animals. But authorities say the 39-year-old stormed into an employee patio at YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, California, shooting 3 employees before turning the gun on herself.
Upon arrival, officers encountered numerous employees fleeing from the building. It was very chaotic, as you can imagine.
There's a victim at the front of the building.
A dramatic scene. This officer snapping up his rifle and bolting out of his vehicle, a YouTube employee using his key to let him into the complex. Agdam, who is of Iranian descent, had multiple YouTube pages despite her apparent success online. In some of her videos, she seemed to lash out at YouTube.
I'm being discriminated and filtered on YouTube. People like me are not good for big businesses.
Ranting that YouTube had begun to censor her, limiting her viewers and therefore her livelihood, claiming she made only 10 cents for more than 300,000 views.
And my old videos that used to get many views stopped getting views.
Police say it was apparently enough to launch Agdam on a suicide mission. She disappeared from home in San Diego on Saturday, her family issuing a missing persons report, and on the morning of the shooting, police in Mountain View, California, find her sleeping in her car hundreds of miles away from home, but just 30 miles away from YouTube's headquarters. Police called the family telling them she was fine, but they didn't know she was packing a 9mm gun and a vendetta against YouTube. The family says it warned police about her anger towards the company. Her brother, who spoke to our affiliate on the condition that we disguise his voice and do not show his face, said this.
I googled the Mountain View. It was close to the YouTube headquarters. And she had a problem with YouTube. So we called that cop again and told him that there's a reason she went all the way from San Diego to there. I didn't know she had a gun.
There was no information relayed to the officer whatsoever.
Jason run off stage, and then people all over on the floor, the grassy area in front of the stage, were just like some were falling and some were screaming and yelling and running, and we were in this tower up on top, and it's like everyone said hit the floor, so everyone was just like literally laying on top of each other trying to get out of the way, and the shots just kept coming, and so we were going down, and when we got down, there was a man that was shot right there. They were trying to take him out. He was all bloody and he was unconscious, and one of my friends was helping him out, and they got him out, and we ran, and everybody's hiding everywhere. I mean, they're hiding under the bleachers and the stanchions and anywhere they could, and everyone's telling us to run as fast as you can. My husband and I ran out toward our car, and there were people hiding underneath my car for cover, and there was a gentleman that was shot, and he said, "Can you help me?" And so I put him in my car, and I had like 6 people in my car, people with out shoes, running just to get away. And
No, you are so strong, and Christine, we talked about before you came on camera about how you just tried to scramble and help people as best as you could. Could you talk about you had your vehicle and you knew you had to get them help?
We had a gal that was with this couple that the guy had been shot in the back or in the backside, and I thought he was going to be okay, but he was bleeding, and so he wasn't as serious to shove him into the ambulance that was right there. So I took him in my car, and she said, "Can I drive?" Because she worked for Metro, and we got to the hospital so quick you wouldn't believe it. But anyway, she drove, and I went to Sunrise Hospital. Right. And my husband went in another car with another man that was unconscious to UMC, and I'm here right now because he's in there with my friend whose daughter is only 18 and she got shot.
And that is absolutely tragic, and we appreciate your bravery.
I'm just trying to get in the hospital.
And that is a struggle. So when you came here, you were trying to get into the people who you knew. What were you told, and why?
Oh, what was I told here? An officer said that they're just taking precaution. So, you know, I mean, there are crazy people out there. They shot into a crowd of 30,000 people in a concert. It's insane.
And as you reflect on this terrible event, what sticks out right now?
I want to be with my family. Thank you.
Enemy fire opened up from 3 sides.
We are now outnumbered, outgunned, and we have taken casualties.